Hello, everyone. Welcome to another installment of. Oh, my microphone is falling. That's not the name of the show, but that is what's happening. Okay. Welcome to another installment of Versus Let's Make a Patch. Today we are featuring the Behringer ARP, affectionately known as the BARP. At least that's what some people call it. I do just generally refer to it as the 2600. It is a fantastic reproduction of the original ARP 2600. The ARP 2600 was built back, I think it was around the 70s. Pretty sure it was early 70s, maybe even late 60s, but designed as an educational tool, but also just a fantastic synthesizer. So it was definitely used throughout many different genres for many different decades, still used to this day. Korg has reissued a very beautiful 1-for-1. It is very nice. I would like to pick one of those up one day, but this one was substantially cheaper. And, you know, I've never done a 1-1 side-by-side comparison, but I think this one, just by itself, without even comparing it to the real ARP, is a fantastic sounding synthesizer. You can get some giant basses out of this thing. You can get some real wacky Euro rack kind of stuff going on. Obviously, you see all these patch bays here. This is a semi-modular synthesizer, meaning that this can be played without a single patch in place. So, for example, we have our one oscillator. We have kind of these like back-end patches. You can see this is our voltage-controlled filter. We are going to send VCO1 into that, which is going to be the square wave of VCO1 right there. Nope, that's VCO2 right there. Pulse technically, but I think it's set to square right now. We put that up, and there's our square. Probably more pulse, really. Yeah, it's not in the. Let's try right in the 50%. Yeah. So it is semi-modular for that reason. You don't have to use all these fun little patch cables I have here. However, that to me is where the fun really happens. So just to kind of overview here, we do have 3 oscillators. Each one of these oscillator sections here puts out multiple waveforms. So your first one's just doing a saw and a pulse, which you do have pulse width control on every single one of these, which is great. You also have the overall frequency and then a fine tune, so a what do you call that? A coarse tune and a fine tune. I have this one set to middle C right now, so I'm probably not going to touch that for the rest of the night, because what I want to do is I want to auto sample any cool patches we make into my ToneVerk, which was thankfully updated recently, and the MIDI issues are fixed, so we can actually get some auto sampling. You know, I should probably turn the chat on in case somebody wants to talk or tell me that they can't hear me, which does happen once in a while. All right, hold on. Let's see here. Okay. Boop, 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 boop. To studio. No, I didn't want you to studio. I want a channel. Okay. Sorry for the interruption here. We're almost there. Mute that. And no one's reached out yet, which is totally fine. Just glad that I didn't miss anybody. Okay. Get rid of that. Shrink this down a little bit. Whoa, I didn't want to open notes, but I did. Come on. Do me like that. Okay. There we go. Okay, now if anybody wants to chat, please do so, and I will be able to respond. Okay, back to it. So, we are 3 oscillators. Each one of these puts out multiple waveforms. We have saw and pulse for the first one. We have triangle, saw, sine, and pulse for the next 2. Another cool feature is any of these can actually be turned on as LFOs by this little switch here. All of them, which is really cool. So you do get one dedicated LFO down here. It's fairly simple, but you can use one of these, or all of them, I guess, technically, if you want to get crazy about it, as LFOs as well. You do have some sync options here to basically keep these all oscillators into frequency sync, which kind of keeps them in their own kind of harmonic areas. You basically, as you scan across this frequency here, it's going to keep it in tune to a certain degree. Whereas now, turned off, they are completely wide open. They can be set to any frequency independently. We do have our filter here. We do have 2 options because Behringer has taken the 2 different ARP filter options that did exist in the actual ARP and put them in here between a switch. I actually prefer the 4072. I think it's a little brighter, maybe. I don't know. Then we have our filter frequency here, fine tune, which is nice because then you can dial in real, just slight what you need, and then the resonance there. We have one ADSR generator, so that's going to be our basic standard envelope. We do have a simple AR, which is just attack and release. My general configuration is to choose the ADSR for the filter and the AR for the voltage controlled amplifier, which gives us, our sound. Generally, I find I'm going to do more fine control with the filter than I am going to do with the VCA. So that's why I kind of let that go there. We can, of course, output the ADSR or AR for that matter to both filter and VCA, but I like them in this kind of setup. But, we'll play around with it. We also have this whole modulation section here. This is really fun. We get some cool stuff. This is more about, so right here's Portamento. This is more about keyboard control kind of stuff to a degree. Obviously, we don't have a keyboard here, but we kind of do with our Toneverk. We have our LFO here. We have a little preamp section with an envelope follower. We have ring mod. We have a noise generator, which is its own oscillator and its own outright, so probably would have made more sense to be up here, but I guess they're making this all fit into a nice square. So a voltage processor. This thing is pretty cool. I admittedly don't work with a lot of Eurorack. I don't do a lot of patch kind of stuff, which is why I bought this, because I was like, it's not something I've really gotten into. I'm kind of trying to stay away from it because it sounds like it's quite addictive, and then you start having to buy all your modules at $100 to $500 a piece. Got to stay away from that, but this scratches the itch wonderfully. Although I will say I might want to add a small rack of some Eurorack to get some more modulation, because I feel like I want some more modulation out of this, but we'll get there. Still tons, though. I shouldn't be greedy, but I kind of am. So the voltage processor effectively lets you input CV, which is what we actually refer to the control. Well, it's called control voltage, is how it works. Instead of just sending like a MIDI piece of information, this is sending a particular amount of electricity, a voltage. And that voltage then affects things at a certain amount. And as you change that voltage, you change that amount that is being affected. So you can actually use this voltage processor to bring in something. Say we have the ADSR going to the filter, and then we also want it to go to the VCA. But before I take it to the VCA, I'm going to put it through this voltage processor, and I'm going to change the way it's coming out. You can do all sorts of things. You can step it down. You can step it up. You have an envelope follower. You got this lag option is really cool, which in combination with the sample and hold creates that sample. What do they call it? It's like, the random ramp where it's there's a name for it. I can't think of it. Instead of sampling and holding, like in very static moments, it's smooth, but it's random. Kind of like a slide, or they call it lag on here. There's another name that would make more sense that I can't think of right now. And then you do have sample and hold as well, just its own setup right here, which is great. Then you get this little electric switch thing here, which I don't use much, so maybe we'll experiment with that, but it's kind of like an A-B thing. So it's kind of almost like not random, but an oscillating gate is, I guess, the best thing I can think of off the top of my head. We're not using the phones, but that is a nice little thing here. They have the phones. They also have a bunch of features on the back that let you edit some things, including the MIDI, as well as the LED brightness. You can see some people refer to this as the Christmas tree. It is very well lit. A little ridiculous, but I actually love it. I wish you had control so you could kind of make your own, like, for example, I got blue, green, then blue. I probably would have preferred blue, green, and red or something, so that way they were separated, and I don't know. Anyway, I do love it. There probably is actually some method to the madness now that I think about it, but I don't see it. So maybe I'm just missing something, like VCO2, ring mod's green. Yeah, okay. It kind of works, but anyway, so let's play. And like I said, the cool thing is once I get something that sounds pretty good, I'm going to go ahead and multi-sample it, and then we can actually play it for later. I did that with a bass earlier with this just to make sure it was actually working properly. And it was awesome. And I'm very excited to have a Electron machine with that beautiful, wonderful sequencer. The biggest one they've ever made, 256 steps, 16 by 16, 16 patterns at 16 steps apiece, as well as all the fun little tricks and stuff with the modulation and routing and all that kind of stuff, which is really fun. But honestly, just to have an auto sampler in an Electron box, pretty exciting. Electron's got a lot more in store for this, I believe. They also got some bugs they still got to squash, but it is a fantastic machine. I was with it last week. If you haven't checked that out, please do so. It is a cool machine. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. And I was really excited. I've been wanting to bust this one out for a while, but I wanted to make sure I could actually sample the sounds that I made. And like I mentioned before, Electron just fixed the MIDI jitter, as they call it, the MIDI timing issues. So hopefully it is truly fixed and doesn't pop its ugly head up. But at this point, I've tried it and it works. So, okay. That is just this guy here. So to see how these patches work, one thing like I mentioned before was we do have these built-in pre-patches, if you will. So you can see right here, I don't know if you can see that, it's pretty crisp. VCO1 pulse width. So this pulse width here is already patched. So doing something like this would be completely redundant, as you can hear. Same thing. But if I went from the saw output into this, it doesn't mix those two patches, it cuts it off. This breaks that internal patch, which totally makes sense, but just to keep in mind so you don't think you're getting some extra mix option here. So now we got a saw. So we actually get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry, that's misleading. We get 3 oscillators, but we get 10 waveforms. They are all funneled into their little oscillator, sections. So any adjustments you make are going to affect these 4 and these 4 and then these 2. But it's still pretty awesome that you have all this. So if you really want to have some fun, you can be patching out some of these oscillators directly in, or obviously using the pre-patches, but you can also patch out some of these oscillators to then be control oriented. You don't get as much control or as much precision, I should say, unless you turn it on here, which is now a low frequency oscillator. So not going to do that yet. Let's start with our first one here. We are going to basically take this patch, which I've done already. It's a sawtooth, into our VCO override here, but basically oscillator 1 directly into the filter. And I'm going to take it at full blast. So as you can hear, we got that already nicely tuned. Let's just hear what the filter sounds like. I'm going to comp a little bit. Very nice, clean filter. Honestly, it's pretty banging, I have to admit. Again, love her, hate him. Behringer, I don't know if I said that this time, but I probably say it every time I talk about Behringer. Love them or hate them. This is a good synthesizer, and it only costs, you can get them for like, I think, well, used market, they're around $350, $400. I think they're sub $500 right now. I paid about that when they came out. It's pretty amazing. If we weren't in this whole tariff mess right now, you'd probably get it even cheaper. I really want to get, what is it, the UBXA-D, the desktop version of the OBX. It just keeps dropping in price. If you're in Europe, Tomlin right now I think has it for $639. In America it's $949. So maybe that'll get fixed at some point. We'll get a little relief there, and we can get one of those awesome synths in my studio for much less, because we don't make those kind of synthesizers in America. That's a whole other discussion. But anyways, let's get on with this. So we got our first patch in. Let's hear what we got. A little bit of filter there. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to bring in another oscillator. Peel this off me here. Let's go with a second saw. I'm going to do a little detune on this. So let's bring this in. Let's hear what it sounds like. I have no idea where it is frequency-wise, so it's probably going to sound awful. Actually, it doesn't sound bad at all. Ooh, I'm sorry. that's a little loud, isn't it? I'm going to bring that down a little bit. You know, let's bring it down on the... Let's bring it down here, just so we're not clipping. Sorry if that was really loud, everybody. I gotta watch the lines because I have a different mix in my headphones. All right. That's already just kind of sounding nice. Like a nice Hoover-ish bass. But we're going to take it a little more wacky and wild. So what are we going to do next? So let's start thinking about some modulation. I do have the 2 oscillators in there already. We can certainly add the 3rd, but before I do that, actually, no, I take that back. We got a pre-built one here. Let's just hear what it sounds like. That sounds pretty good. I don't want to take it away now. We're going to leave that. Okay, let's do a little modulation. Why don't we start with our LFO? Just something simple. Why don't we patch into... Let's patch into our filter and get a little bit of nice movement. I'm going to take over the keyboard CV since we don't really have that. Actually, probably would come from over here, but we're just going to go with this. So our LFO is currently very slow. You can see this light slowly blinking. It's going to go up, and there it goes. That's a very slow. So that is kind of a neat thing they actually did here is, watch as I lift it up. The LED goes, you know, I can't imagine it's perfect, but it's giving you an indication roughly of what your LFO speed is. So that's pretty cool. I got to admit, it's kind of nice. Maybe it is pretty accurate. I don't see why not, actually. Anyways, let's get it about here. Let's start lifting. Maybe just a little bit. Okay. Let's do a speed. You know, actually, I should say you get sort of, no, it's still just one LFO, but similar to the oscillators up here, you get 3 frequencies. You get 3 waveforms. You get a sawtooth, a triangle. You get a square. I don't believe there's any pulse width anywhere, so that's just a straight up square. And then you get a sine wave, which is actually what I'm going to take. And there's a little extra goodness here. You get a delay option, which is, if you've seen any of my videos, I love LFO delay. I think it's one of the best things you can have on a synthesizer. So you just don't get that LFO blasting you right away. It can kind of ease in, or alternatively, can ease out. So let's see what we got here. We have a little bit of delay. Oops. So it doesn't ease in, but there is a way to fix that with this guy here. I don't know if I'm able to pull it off, though, because it's been a little while since I've tried to do that. Let me see. So if we increase lag time here, let's see what happens. So we're going to go into our input here. And then we're going to take the output of this, stick it back into the CV for the filter. Let's just hear, I've got the increased lag time. Let's take it all the way down. Let's hear if it's normal. Normal. Let's hear what we do with the lag. All the way up. I think it's effectively doing what we have with this delay here, but let me see if I brought the delay down. Yeah. Or am I just crazy? It's hard to tell. Let's do more of this so I can really hear the difference. It's okay. It's not doing exactly what I had hoped. Let's try a little more delay. Ooh. I mean, it's very subtle, but I think it's actually working the way I want it to. Not quite enough. We're going to go with it, though. Let me hear a little bit of resonance on that sound. So I could very well be wrong about this, but from my understanding is that ARP and Moog were in direct competition with each other. And so their filters, in my opinion, can sound pretty similar. I think there was even a point at which there was some lawsuits or something. I'm totally pulling this out of a bad memory. But I believe that there was something where I think ARP was accused of stealing. Okay, I'm not going to say that. Some weirdness happened between the two companies regarding filter design, I believe. Look it up for yourself if you're interested. If not, who cares, right? But does have nice, maybe not quite as aggressive as a Moog filter can be. But man, does that sound good. Okay. So I'm going to dig this down. I'm going to slow it down. Out of there. Okay, I'm actually going to bring this filter much farther down. I'm going to be affecting it with our envelope, our ADSR. So what I always think about whenever I'm about to send envelope towards a parameter is I want to think about where I want that parameter to end, where I'm setting it where I want the envelope to no longer, I'm setting it where I want it to be when the envelope is completely finished with its cycle. That's essentially where you're going to land, so you want to figure out where that's going to be. I think that sounds good. I'm going to take down that. There we go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and this is actually already pre-patched to the filter, so I do not need to run a cable out, which is nice because with that, I can then come over here and use the output for something else. And so let's go ahead and put this in here. Let's hear what we get. Oh, that's nice. That's a nice long decay. Let's shorten the decay maybe a little bit. There we go. Very good. I like it. I love the little manual button. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this so far. I'm going to add a little bit of release time to it in case I pull it off too early. So you got nothing, but that is because we also have a very slow release on our VCA, which this is pre-patched to the VCA, whereas right there. So you can actually do either. So we could come over here and do the ADSR, but you can hear we're not getting much out of that because I have the decay set kind of quick. So back over here. It is interesting that those sound different to me. It sounds like the ADSR is actually happening quicker for the for the amplifier than it is the filter. So maybe there is something I'm missing there. Maybe this time factor only. Like that sounds right. But even quicker. Huh. That is interesting. We do have this little time factor here, which is really nice. Your filter has a set amount of, your ADSR envelope generator has a certain amount of time that everything happens in. So when you have everything set to the maximum, for example, that release might only happen for 1 second, let's just say. You do have this time factor here that basically lets you scale that. So if you do ×2, it's going to be twice as long. If you do 0.5, you're going to get half as long. So if it's, for example, at 1 is a second, you're going to get 2 seconds. If you're up at the top, you get half a second if you're at the bottom. So I keep it right in the middle for now, and I like that. I want to get more release, so I don't have to hold it down. Cool. Okay. So we have a couple of patches going on here, but honestly, it's still a pretty mild sound. So let's see if we can mangle it a little bit. What should we do next? If anybody feels like jumping in and mentioning, please go for it. If not, I'll keep going on my own. That's totally fine too. Why don't we bust out this LFO again? We're going to use the triangle. Where should I put that? How about we do a little control over here? Let's see what happens if I mess with this thing. So I'm not going to use the ADSR. It's cool. You can see all these pre-built patches, and they got some cool ideas going on. So, all right, let's see what we give this. Just a little bit. Let's go down one. Dude, that is a fat. Oh. Dude, that's pretty nice already. I think I got to multi-sample that. I planned on getting really wacky, but that is a heck of a bass line. That's a heck of a bass sound. So I'm going to do that real quick. I do want to say something before I do. Here's where I struggle with the concept of sampling for especially multi-samples. The idea that you're going for here is to create a playable patch. So I am going to sample this. I am kind of a little bit of a nut on it. I don't like to skip, if I don't have to, I don't like to skip intervals. So just to give you kind of an idea what auto sampling is, this is going to tell the synth to play a particular set of notes. And while it does that, in succession, of course, not at the same time, this is a mono synth. I probably should have mentioned that in the beginning. But it's going to play those notes in succession for a certain amount of time that you tell it to, for a certain amount of length, or I should say a spectrum of notes. So it can start as low as you want, it can start as high as you want. Sometimes you want it focused in the middle. If it's just like a bass sound, you might be shifted a little bit down to the lower register, but you don't need C4 or C3 when you're doing a bass patch, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like wasted once you go off to that kind of high range of notes. So the idea is the auto sampler lets you define exactly where and what you're going to sample. Now here's where I get thrown a little bit. And I've done 2 full multi-patch creations with my Akai MPC Live and 2 awesome old synths that I had to sell. So I went ahead and did them, and they're going to be something I want to release at some point because they sound awesome. But here's where I really struggle is the filter. The filter is such a huge part of the character of a synth. But if you want the most control when you go to this auto sampling and you sample all those tones, if you've got a really low pass filtered sound and it's real, like right here, well, I don't want to mess with this too much because I like the sound. So I'm like right below the L and the T. So maybe you want like a real dark. But maybe in the song at some point, you want to. See what I mean? You cannot get that if you auto sample it specifically at that lower frequency cutoff because it's gone. You can't bring any of those frequencies back. You've snapshotted that sound with those frequencies completely removed. So that's the struggle is when you are auto sampling, you got to either commit to that sound the way it is. If you're using the filter, you have to be like, this is it. This is the sound I'm going for, and I'm not going to vary it that much at all because you're not going to get all that much ability to vary it afterwards. Alternatively, you can leave the filter wide open, unfortunately lose the character of that filter because it's not applied at all. Sample that and then use the filter that comes with your device, such as this digital electron filter, which is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. It's great, but it's not that filter, and that's the filter I want. So you can see there's always this struggle. It's like, man, where do I do it? I tend to try when I think of that, I tend to try to take the sound where it is and then bump that filter a little bit more so that I do have a little room to kind of give something if I need to. Um, it does take away a little bit of the character, so it's kind of one of those things. Yeah, I don't know. If anybody has any suggestions or ideas beyond that, please, because I feel like I'm stuck. My other option is to sample that same patch, but with various different degrees of filter application. And so that in itself becomes, you have multi samples to get a singular sound, and that's just too much. So I don't know. Maybe one day they'll have a really cool auto sampler that will be smart enough to know that maybe will, you know, have the ability to take the patch you make and then at some point, go back and forth on the filter to, I don't know, something that would be really cool. I think it's possible, but you're going to need a lot of intelligence in that little machine, and these aren't quite there yet, but they are still fantastic. So with that said, this is new to me in terms of multi-sampling with this guy, but I have been doing it with the MPC. The MPC Live, they recently came out with a new OS that actually doubled the amount of velocity steps. So that's another thing we'll talk about. This one has the same amount, which is 8. The idea there is if you have velocity sensitivity, or particularly filter sensitivity applied, or I should say any sensitivity in terms of the velocity applied across this thing. So for example, if you're making a patch like a, say you're playing a multi, what am I trying to say? A polysynth. So maybe you got like 6, 7 voices, whatever. You're playing like a piano patch. You want to make it as realistic as possible. So what you're going to do, if it has that capacity, which it should, I really hope it does, your ability to play the keys and how fast you play them or how hard, that's your velocity, and it will register that, and you can apply that modulation what you're getting from the keyboard and how hard and fast you're playing it. It'll take that and it'll send it to whatever parameter you tell it to. So for example, if you're playing a real piano and you sit down at the keys and you hammer on those keys, that piano is going to sing bright because those strings are being pounded. And if you ever smack something hard that vibrates, it vibrates as loud and fast as it can the harder you hit it. If you tap it real soft, you get a nice little muted tone. Same with the piano. Nice little muted, very light playing causes a nice soft sound. The idea there is, in the polysynth analogy here, we want to bring that natural variance when you play velocity to the synthesizer. At least that's one way you can do it. And if you do that, you want to be able to multi-sample that. So what the auto sampler does is it gives you up to 8 different velocities that you can apply and capture a sample for. So say you're going 1 octave, the whole octave, so 12 notes, 13 if you're going from, C to 1 to C2, so 13 notes, let's say, and you want each of those with 8 velocity samples, you now have 8 times 13 samples just to cover that octave. So that is 80 plus 24, so 104 samples just to cover 1 octave. So now think if you did 4 octaves. Well, you start doing the math, 416, it gets pretty large. And we're going to do that because that's how I like to sample. I mean, we live in a good age where megabytes are not as scary as they used to be. If you start multi-sampling gigabytes, then you got to start worrying because, drives are only so big. So, sorry, that was very long-winded. Let's get on with this. I want to sample this guy. I left it, you can hear it. It's probably going to be a bass sound because it's very awesome bass sound. I let it hang pretty long. And again, that goes back to the philosophy of auto sampling. If I made it very short, that's all I'd get. But if I make it long, I can actually adjust the VCA in here to make that sound short, so I kind of have some breathing room when I go to actually play the sound. So I left it long, a little longer than I would for a bass sound. It actually doesn't stop, but the idea is that filter goes pretty good, probably like 2 seconds. So let's go into here. So if I click on the sample button here, and it took me forever to find this yesterday. If you go to the right or left, so we have recorder here, and now if we go down, auto sampler. So that's recorder, that's auto sampler. So I'm going to hit yes. So now here we get our options. It's probably, yeah, you can kind of see it. I know I gotta up my game when it comes to getting the screens. I need like another additional camera here. Excuse me, I need a drink of water. All right. So what do we got here? We got in USB. No. Oh, we got in and USB. So that's one thing that's interesting. I don't know if they'll change this, but right now, if you have something coming in from the USB and something coming in through the external outputs, which we have the external outputs set up, you will sample those together. There's no, you can separate here to some degree, but I don't think you can separate that. No, you're always getting analog and USB together. So we don't have any USB, so that's fine. But actually, I'm going to unplug this just to make sure we're not getting any noise or anything in there. I had that connected to the computer earlier to do the update. Okay, we are MIDI 1. This is set to MIDI channel 1. We get to test the measuring, measure timing is what it's called. And this is really cool, although I prefer that we get some more editing options, which I think are going to come. But right now we have to trust the machine is going to send out a MIDI signal, and then it's going to capture the input, and it's going to adjust and see exactly how long it takes for it to come in, and it's going to start the sample at the appropriate time, so you don't get any space in the beginning. So let's try it. All right, we are at 6 milliseconds of latency, and then we got, they're saying 872 milliseconds of release. So what I'm going to do is actually going to do a whole second, which I'm going to set over here somewhere. Sample, I guess that's not it yet, so we're not there yet. So first I'm going to set the range. So if we look over here, this is something else too I feel like they need to improve. You know, it's hard to know. I can't think in my head what 0 is in terms of a sound. And I know it's not something I want because it's going to be so low. But let's see if we're going, let's see, we're at C1. So instead of saying C1 on here, I got to think, okay, well, C1 is 24, technically 25, if you consider itself steps up. You do at least get the little keyboard guide, which is nice. So we're going to go all the way up and start at 24. Oh, come back there. Come on, 24. It should be that one. Now, like I said before, if it's a bass sound, you're probably not going to get, like, they're not going to use that sound that much. Although that is, you know, we're probably going to sample that, actually, now that I think about it, because we might be able to play some fun kind of keyboard sounds, or maybe make a pad out of it. But so here's something else to mention that's great about auto sampling. Once this exists in the sampler, it's no longer does it have to be a monophonic synth, which is fantastic. So I get 8 voices per track on the Tonewerk, meaning I can now play 8 voices at once of this sound once I sample it, which is going to be cool. We only need one at a time for a bass, but like I said, maybe it doesn't sound that bad in the higher range, so I'm going to actually do the full, you know, it's going to make it pretty big. Yeah, we're going to do it anyways. I'm not going to actually do any velocity layers because I don't have anything different for velocity on this, so it would be a waste of samples. Every sample would sound the same if I went from a low velocity to a high velocity. So with that said, let's come over here. We got G is how many samples. So that is this is an interesting thing, and this is I talked about a moment earlier. You can tell this thing to sample 1 note per octave if you want. I mean, you probably go even higher than that. Look at that. Yeah, I don't know why you do that. You turn the multi-sampler on and sample once over 127 notes, so that's, but it's there, I guess, you know, why not? But if you go to 1, and whatever range we got here, 24 to 127, it tells us 104 keys. 1 sample per every note or every key gives us 104 samples. If you're worried about size, you can bring that down to say, some people often do like 3. So you're basically going from like C up to E flat, and then E flat to G, or G, what would that be? No, sorry, C to E, E to G sharp, doesn't matter. But basically you're getting different notes in there, and I'm sure it's smart enough because it would want to be, but I know the MPC Live does this as well. It basically has some sort of algorithm in there that determines as you play if it should pitch down a sample or pitch up a sample to achieve the notes that are in between the samples. But honestly, like I said, I don't care about using too much space, so I'm going to go down to 1 sample for every one. We do only need 1 velocity layer, so we are there. We're going to go to the next page over. Here's the length. I'm going to go, whoops, what did I just do? I messed with something. Yeah, that was it. Okay, so that's what throws me off, is the size will change before the seconds will change because it's that fine. If I go here, and we are at 1 second, and just to be safe, I'm going to go to 1-1. All right, here we go. So I am going to turn down the volume of this thing just so we don't have to hear this constantly, very loud. Well, let's start at the right amount. So right there, see, I was off. I'm not going to use that low note, so that's going to get stuck in there. You know, maybe, I guess, maybe. So yeah, and see, that's what's so confusing. I went to C2, but I think they actually go even farther down because technically this is the transpose. So yeah, so that was probably another octave higher on the low end that I wanted to start, but oh well. All right, while that works, I'm going to take a sip of water and we'll talk a little bit more about this cool synthesizer here. So it is monophonic. We are going to turn it into a polyphonic sound, which is pretty exciting here. It does, we'll turn this down a little more. We don't need to hear it. As long as the volume doesn't change going in, we can turn that down and not have any worries. So yeah, this thing is pretty cool, I gotta say. I was really excited to see some other things that Behringer is coming out with. I think it's already out, but it's called it's not the Proton, maybe it is the Proton. It's the new one that's their actual, like a Eurorack synth that they actually made. It's not a clone of anything. The Neutron? Or is the Neutron the old one? Yeah, Neutron's the old one, Proton's the new one. I want to eventually pick one of those up just for the modulation purposes, because as much as this has, I would like a little bit more. I would love 2 ADSRs like you usually get on a synthesizer. You know, not a patch-centric one, but like a standard kind of synthesizer. I'd also like maybe like at least 2 more LFOs. So I'm excited to get one of those and pair it with it. But I should also just realize that this thing is more than capable, and we've got a lot more to explore on it before I need to add stuff. But I am definitely a gear nut, so I like to have as many options as possible. With that said, let's go over some of this stuff while we're auto sampling. Some areas that I still want to practice more on myself are using this voltage processor, using the sample and hold, not just to get that kind of classic sample and hold kind of, you know, kind of popcorny sound. This little electric switch, I kind of call it an alternating gate, is very exciting, but I haven't really found a place where it's like a perfect fit. Because I feel like I can essentially get out of a square wave on the LFO what I'm getting out of this guy. So I feel like I'm missing something that makes this little area special, and I need to figure that out. So I did mention the voltage processor. This thing is pretty dang cool. I don't know enough about how to produce. I understand its concept, but I haven't really gotten amazing things coming out of it. I still struggle with some of the concepts because I expected that leg to do something that it didn't quite do, which was slow down the delay, or I should say the fade in the LFO for the delay parameter over here. Ring mod, that's kind of a thing you would know if I played it. It's a very kind of high pitch frequency kind of crunchiness depending on what you do with it, so that's not that huge. But the envelope follower, I don't use that much yet either, but in case you don't know what an envelope follower is, this is a very cool piece. Oh, I think we're done already. Ah, look, we're getting into a section here. I can't even hear the notes. So I guess I was up too high on the octave too. Whatever. We're going to keep it. Okay, here's another thing that's pretty silly about the Toneverk. Is they got some work to do on it. But I like their style, I like what they did here. So you can't do anything to these multi-samples pretty much in terms of like editing the files. You can't adjust you can't adjust the beginning of the sound, like when it comes in. You can't adjust the ending. You can't do anything. And one thing that's pretty glaring you can't do is you can't name it. You can't say, I want to call this ARP Fatty Bass 1. You know, you have to allow it to name it for you. And when I say that, I mean generally they have a random name generator. So what did we get this one for this guy here? Okay, that was called Splashy Sentinel. I'm sorry, Splashy Centennial, as in 100 years, I guess. That's so weird. Like, what does that even mean? Splashy Centennial. But okay, all right. We don't get a choice. Like, if I want to keep that sample, that is the name. So let's hit no. Let's come over to track 8. And It's weird. I have something in here already. This is a brand new thing, I thought, but oh, okay. I guess it's there. All right, well, let's go on down. If we go all the way to the bottom, we're going to see previous one I made, which was called, what did they name that one? Suspected Engraver. that's not a good one. But I don't really hate Splashy Centennial. There we go. All right, let's hear what we get. Give it a moment. It is loaded. Didn't take that long. It's probably not that big of a sample. We're going to go in the middle range here. Oh, okay, that's why. I was like, man, that sounds very dark. I should have just, you know what? I'm going to go back here. I'm going to clear this completely out. Let's try it over. I don't want to go through and try to figure out what's not right. Multi-patch, Splashy Central. Let's see if it did that. Yep, we're clean. Okay, let's hear it. Ooh, you can already hear. Like, check this out. we got a polyphonic 2600. Look at that. That's awesome. Very cool. But I want this for a bass sound for right now, so I'm going to go into the source menu. No, I'm going to go into Trig. Yeah, Trig. And I'm going to go from play mode and turn it over to mono. Very cool. Okay. That's awesome. So let's go ahead and pluck away. We don't have to write down this patch. We don't have to take a picture, which I'll do sometimes to remember a patch. It is stored. I don't want to say indefinitely. This Electron Tonesvert could literally blow up right this second and we'd be losing that sound potentially forever, but we got it for now. So actually what I should do is save that project. That project is saved. Okay, let's zero this all out and we're going to start all over. Never touching this guy, at least for today, because this one is set to C. There is no, we want that, we want that. We're going to take the release time down just a little bit so it's nothing glaring. Lag down, boom, 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 boom. We are back to square one. Yep. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and patch something to start off with. Let's do a pad. Let's do a pad because I've never actually done that with this because I've not multi-sampled this one yet, and it's a monophonic synthesizer. So, I mean, I guess you could sort of get like a pad by... No, you really could. I take that back. You could totally get a pad because you could set these frequencies to be different steps. You could set this to be the fundamental, this could be the minor third, this could be the fifth or the seventh, and then you could get a pad. So it's totally possible. I shouldn't have said that. But we're going to do it a little bit more fun, in my opinion, because we're going to create one big, huge sound using all these oscillators, and then we're going to turn that to a pad with the auto sampler. Okay, so let's hear what we got. That is the sound. We're going to go back to track 1. Oh, I think I reset everything, didn't I? No. Oh, I don't have any oscillators going in. So let's start with oscillator 1. No, let's start with oscillator 2. We need to get it patched in just right, so. Okay, close enough. All right, we are going to bring in the sine wave. So we do have a pre-patch on the square wave, but I don't want that. So I'm going to break that by bringing the sine wave output into the VCO2 break for the filter input. Now we have a glorious sine. Very nice sine. I think that's very nice and warm. It's got a little, I think it's got a little bit of extra harmonic information in there. Yeah, it's got a slight buzz, which I like. You know, a perfect sine can be cool, but probably nearly impossible to achieve in an analog synthesizer. I did not mention that either. This is 100% signal path entirely. Everything, all about this is analog with one exception. And I haven't used it yet. I don't often use it that much when I'm recording something because I don't usually record a reverb. But you do have a nice digital spring reverb. You do have the option to buy the green Meanie and the blue Meanie, I think they're called, which is the same synthesizer, but it's a different faceplate, and it comes with a real spring reverb inside. I've heard it's actually noisy. I don't know if that's true or not, but nonetheless, I am not crazy about spring reverb all that much. It's cool, and I do have some really great VSTs that handle that for me if I need it. But like I said, I generally don't record reverb anyways when I record a synthesizer because, goes back to that auto sampling thing where all of a sudden you don't have the capacity to edit that afterwards. There are some fancy tools you can do it now, but why add it if you're going to take it away anyway? So I take it out. You can also do something really cool if you felt like it. You could record all your stuff, including this dry, and then you could patch either a mix, a subgroup, or just this very same sound back through and capture the reverb by itself. So that's something cool you can do. But we're not going to do that. We are going to make a pad sound. Cool. Okay, we're on oscillator 2. I want to get a little bit of FM going, and I'm going to do that by adding... This is the sample hole, this ADSR, so that's not what I want. Oops. I want to bring in sine wave from oscillator 3 and bring that in to... Oops, I'm going to go for this one here. No, I want to keep the sample and hold. ADSR. I'll go for this guy here, the VCO1. Something to consider, too, while you're patching this is consider what you're breaking, because you may want to actually use that and not necessarily pull out a patch cable to achieve it. So I only want this sine wave coming in to do an FM modulation on this oscillator here. So that's why I didn't mind taking up VCO1's square wave pre-patch. So let's go ahead and bring this in. Let's hear what it sounds like. So here we got. So I want all of that in there, but it's affecting the pitch. Oh, dang. Yeah, I don't think we can do it without it affecting the pitch. I think that's just basically impossible. I'd have to come to this one and, well, I mean, I guess I could do that. Let's try it. Cool. We'll test afterwards. That's something you have to do too, which I hope Electron actually adds to the ToneVerk, because the MPC has it, and that is having a built-in tuner. Because if I, especially with how little control I have right now after I sample it, if I sample it off key, just even a few fine, what is the word I'm looking for, cents off, that's the sample. I think I could still come in here and mess with the fine tuning on this, but why? You want to get it right the first time. So we'll check it before I actually sample it, but we're getting there. So back to the auto sampling thing once more too, something to discuss is I do want to make a pad, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to make all of the pad come from this. Meaning I am probably going to keep the attack time set to 0, which obviously doesn't give me a pad. But the idea is once I have the sample in here, I don't really think I'm going to lose much character by using the envelope generator in here to create the pad versus on here. That doesn't mean that much to me. Like I talked about earlier, the filter, yes, that is a huge character aspect of a synthesizer. Not using the filter here and using this one instead totally will change the sound. I don't think we'll notice much by just the envelope for, the adjustment of the actual attack, whether it's on, well, I should say on the attack of the velocity amplifier. So, velocity, voltage controlled amplifier, VCA. Man, I'm having a hard time. I think my mouth's just dry. All right. Come down an octave. So the sign's not giving us a whole lot of higher end frequency content, so I'm going to bring in something else here. Let's bring in patch or oscillator 1. I'll patch that over the VCO1 here already, and the reason I'm even patching that, like I mentioned before, is the pulse wave is the pre-patch, but I want that saw. So let's see what we get. You can see I'm not bringing it all the way. There's all the way. It does sound good, but that saw really takes over that sine, because the sine's going to be, you know, it's a softer sound. It doesn't have all that sharp frequency content at the top. And I want that sine to be the dominant wave, so you can see I'm bringing this about 50%, maybe a little less. Cool. I like that. Okay. What's next? Well, we could potentially add another oscillator, which I may, but I think what I'd rather do is try some of this noise. So the problem here is, though, I want the noise directly coming into this guy. Oh, well, look at that. I don't have to patch it at all. I have a pre-built patch here, and that saved me having to use the multi here to create this sound coming out and be later used for modulation, which I actually really love using noise as a modulation source. But instead we can just use, so I only have one output here. I could use the multi by putting this in here and then using these three to go out to different areas. I may still do that, but I don't have to use this at all to go into the filter because I have this pre-built one. So let's hear if we get just a little bit of grit. Here's what all of it. Nothing, because I don't have the level on. So I'm obviously not going to add that much, but let's see if we can get the timbre of our noise. We got low frequency, pink, white. White is harsh. Definitely more of a pink guy. Pink guy, not pink eye. That's nice. Maybe it's too much still. So I'm going to actually, I can bring it down here, but I know I'm going to want to use this later. So I'm actually going to bring this up and bring it down here and adjust. That's something to keep in mind too. I tend to think in these kind of scenarios, especially in any sort of modulation when it comes to mod matrices, and then also systems like this. I usually try to start strong and then reduce as I go down. Because that strong can always be reduced, but if you start weak, you can't bring it up any more than, you can't increase that later on. I mean, you can with gain and preamps maybe, but it's more of a struggle. So if you start with the most that you can handle and then just kind of whittle it down as you piece it out in places, to me that's more of kind of in line with what the concept of subtractive synthesis is. You start with something big and you whittle it away down to something nice and fine, kind of like a sculptor does, or not a sculptor, somebody who, like a whittler takes a big old log and whittles out something small, but he can't make it bigger than the log. So you always start with as big as you can in the beginning and work your way down. Let's see what we got. That's not bad. So some things I'm missing a little bit, would have been nice to have, is maybe the ability to modulate the level on the noise. We could do that by bringing the modulation output here, the noise output, I'm sorry, into something over here and then bring it into this guy, which is possible. I think I just like it as very, very light, but I'm going to brighten it up just a little bit. Yeah. The only thing is once I start engaging the filter, it's probably going to lose most of that. It's gone there. See if I bring in a little resonance. So much like the Moog filter, which like I mentioned before is very similar to this, you lose all of that bass when you bring that resonance up. It's a sad reality of a Moog ladder style filter, although I don't know what this would technically be called, but it's very similar. Which is why I mentioned earlier I really want to get my hands on that UBXA, or even better, an OBX if I can afford it, because the filter they designed there doesn't lose as much, or I think really any low frequency content, and that's pretty cool. Anyway, let's go up a little higher. Okay, it's very in your face. There's not much change to it. So let's think about something we can do. Let us use our sample and hold. We have to look over here. We have to check this one out to find the S&H output. So I'm going to take here, and where am I going to put that? I could potentially do the filter. I probably should. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to occupy the keyboard CV. I honestly never really used that section that much, so that's a section I need to really look into more, because it's not just about a keyboard, it's about kind of altering the inputs. So let's bring this up. Let's first bring the rate of the sample and hold up. Bring the level about halfway. And we're going to bring it up here. Just start bringing it up as I play. It's not giving me a whole lot going on here. Missing something, because that's not doing much of anything. Should be going like that, but it's not. That is the sample and hold. Oh, but you know what? I bet you maybe that is not. That's probably the case. I don't know if that's actually giving me enough to go and affect this. I don't know. Well, let's try. Electric switch, internal clock inputs. See, this is a section I need to know more about. So I think what we'll do here, so we have noise. Oh, I think this is all related here. Okay, let's try it this way. Yeah, okay. So I need something else to basically kick off the sample and hold, because right now it's using the noise, but I don't want the noise that high. But I take it back. I could easily do that. Just bring it down here more. Like I mentioned before, start big, whittle down. So let's take that out. Cool. That's a nice amount. Here, let's just make sure. Yeah. It almost sounds like some sample reduction there, or some bit rate reduction, just because it's just fine noise. I love that. Okay, so now we have got the sample and hold being fed by the noise gen, a pre-built patch. The same if I just output this into here. We don't need to because they're pre-built. So let's bring this level up. I'm going to make sure it's very light. There we go. God, just to get that nice sound though, we lose so much of that bass. I'm going to try and bring it down some. Pretty subtle. All right, let's bring in some envelope, some ADSR into this, to the filter. Man, look at how much, just by going like, that's just crazy. It's a bummer. And unfortunately, at least I don't see it, maybe I'm blind, there is no way to do anything with the resonance. It is a static control. There's no modulation, there's no input, and that's a bummer because with that much roll off on the low end, I would love to be able to adjust that. So maybe have it delay, slowly come in, with a delayed LFO, but no dice. Okay. Well, we're getting there. What else can we do? We can add... We obviously haven't touched the LFO section yet, which is great, but we can also bring in some ring mod. It's currently sending the the saw wave of VCO1, which doesn't make any... Oh, it does have a saw wave. Okay. I wonder if that's still going... Yeah, it should. That's interesting. I wonder if the patch still works, even though I've patched that out manually. But I think it does. I don't see why not. Okay, let's bring that ring mod, which actually I was about to go from this output to the filter, but look at that, we got a pre-patch. So let's hear what that sounds like. Ooh. I like that. I don't know if we need to do anything else to this yet. Or anymore. Yes, we do. We need to get a little bit of release since we are making a pad. Not much, because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sample this, holding it down for a while, or, we'll give it like maybe 3 seconds. So we don't need to have a full decay stage or release stage happening, but I don't want it to just cut off at the very end. So give a little more release to that, maybe match. We got... That's good. Maybe a little more decay on the filter. Oh man, that is cool sounding. That is great. Let's throw an octave down. Oof. Okay, just for fun. It's not going to be in the sample when I actually do that, but here's the reverb. For a digital spring, that's pretty dang good. Dude, oh god, I love synthesis. What a great sound. Okay, I thought we were going to go wild on this one, but I'm sorry, we ran into a good patch. Got right in the way. All right, let's do some auto sampling. All right, well, so back to the ToneVerk sample. We're already in the auto sampler. We already have the the MIDI channel. We already have the appropriate source. We are going to measure the timing real quick. It's telling me I think 6 milliseconds is going to be the standard here. 482 millisecond release. Well, no, we're definitely not doing that. We're increasing that quite a bit. I already know from the last patch that we don't need to go any lower than 36, because at that point it just sounds like, it gets really, really funky. I should have thought of this. I don't know why I thought 127 at the top then would have been smart. Let's go to 115. That's still very high. In fact, I probably could go... Yeah, we're going to go down another one. We're going to save a little space, even though I just said all that earlier. We just don't need it. It gets so high that you're not going to need those. And like any good auto sampler, this is going to repitch when you get up to that height. So if you really do, for some reason, need a screaming note up there, it may not be perfect because it's going to take a lower sample and pitch it up versus getting the raw, real sample. But I think it's good enough. So again, no velocity layer necessary. That is a fantastic feature. I'm so glad it's there. We don't need it with this guy because I really haven't messed with anything velocity. I don't even know. There must be a way to do it. I have to think if we have, keyboard CV into just about anything, I guess. So yeah, maybe we'll try and get that done for the next patch. But for now, we're good. I'm going to go over and make sure we get, all right, let's see, where's my phone? I'm going to time this one out. I really want to hear how long I want to have this sample and do it right. Here's my timer. stopwatch. All right, we ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. This is going to be a big one. We're going to go 6 seconds. I'm going to do it. I think it's worth it. Hard drives be damned. 6 seconds. We are looking at a patch the size of 161 megabytes. That's big, but that's not whatever. I'm fine with it. All right. So I'm going to turn this down. That way we can have a discussion here while this goes, because this is going to take, that's going to take 7 minutes. You know what? Oh, man, I have 3 viewers, and I'm about to take a break. That's a bummer. Yeah, I don't know if you guys will hang on. I hope you do, but I'm going to hit yes on this. It's going to take 7 minutes. I feel like I've said a lot about this synth already, and I feel like me more talking is just going to annoy people, because what else is there to say? It's more about the sound. So we're going to take a 7-minute break. Go grab a cup of something. Smoke them if you got them, that whole thing, and I will see you back in 7 minutes, okay? I'll leave this going if you want to check it out, so enjoy. I'll be back shortly. You know what? I'm going to wear these still, like a necklace. No kidding. Sometimes I will be patching and I will completely forget they're there, and I'll walk around the house like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. All right. Oh, jeez. See you in a minute. 45 seconds left. That's not too bad. Hey, you guys stayed. Thank you. All right. Probably about, we got 6 more. I'm excited. Honestly, I really am. Because I think this is going to sound pretty cool. I've been wanting to do this for so long. And like I mentioned, I have the MPC Live, and I sampled the crap out of a Ensoniq ESQ1. Oh, I missed that synth. And a heavily modified Korg Poly 800. It had the Hawk 800 and the Moog Slayer modifications on there. And I sold that one, actually. I really liked it. I've done some videos. If you look at my YouTube feed, you'll see both videos, both synths, where I did a bunch of patches with them, and they sound really great. But I definitely felt like the Poly 800 was just madness in a way that felt like I got enough out of it and passed it along. So, but the ESQ1, if you ever come across one of those, fantastic synth, especially for its age. It has real analog filters with the digital. It's like a classic hybrid. Awesome modulation section for the time. It's amazing. All right, let's go to cables here. Patch 7, track 7, and we are going to. Wait. I'm sorry. I should make sure. Am I done? Did I save that? Oh my God, I hope I saved that. I had to have saved it. I didn't even look and see what it was called, but we'll see. Track 7. Do a source, select multiplayer. It was called, hold on, what was it called? These names are hilarious. Avoidable, wait. Yeah, avoidable sprinkle. You know, I kind of like that one too. The only one I didn't like was Suspected Engraver, which I did even before I started recording. I made a fun bass patch on this just to kind of test everything out. That name sucks, but the other two, Splashy Centennial and Avoidable Sprinkle, okay, all right. I like it. I'm into it. Okay, Moment of Truth, track 7. Let's get the volume up. Let's go up an octave. Oh no! Oh, I forgot to check the tuning. Dang it. Well, let's see what we get. Oh man, I can't believe I forgot to check the tuning. Where's my tuner? Oh. You know what? Hold on. Let's just hear. No, it should be good because we'll hear it. Versus. Ooh, that's not a great thing to. Dude. Good enough. I like it. I think what I'm gonna have to do is actually get I have like a little tuner pedal. I mean, it's an old Boss one. It's not that accurate. I need to get something really accurate, and I need to get it set up. I could probably just run it right off the headphones, and most synths of mine have headphones, so I can just do that. That's what I'm gonna do. So hopefully this is good. I love that. It doesn't even really need any adjustment at all. So I know we were going to make that as a pad, but I honestly think that is a wonderful keyboard sound. That's also the beauty of auto sampling on a minimal kind of concept, meaning you don't maybe want to use all filter. You maybe don't want to, you want to make a bigger envelope process so that way you can whittle it down later. It also gives you the option to use these as different ideas. So this can be a keyboard, and then I can also affect by using the internal Toneverk amplifier envelope to create a pad out of it. So that's pretty nice. In fact, I'm going to do that. I'm going to leave this one just as it is. We're going to go to track 7, set this as a multi. We're going to select Avoidable Sprinkle again. That's a great name. I gotta admit, I like it. That's really funny. We're going to switch the envelope mode to ADSR. It is on ADSR. Oh, I'm sorry. It looked like an AHD. The attack, hold, decay. All right. Let's get this there. Let's see what we get. helpful atonal playing there. Cool. Okay. Maybe more attack. A little more decay. That is also very nice. Let me hear if I go real low. It's a little fuzzed out or a little... That's pretty nice also. Probably if I'm going to play it in a higher register, I'll give it even more attack. If I remember, right? See the volume. Yeah. So I don't have velocity sensitivity on these guys. It's, you know, but I mean, they are just little buttons. You can't really expect too much. It would have been cool, but so we don't get any velocity based playing right now. That is pretty nice. Okay, well here, let's just hear what we have for a second here. So if I'm on track 8, that is a fat bass. Okay, I'll have to think about what to do with this, but let's go to the next track. I think I'm happy with that for now. That is hard to beat. I actually really like that sound. Maybe take a little bit of the high frequency out, not much. Bring just a hair back with the resonance. I'm going to take that reverb back out. Just a little bit, just for now. What about a little delay? Yeah. There's room there to mess around. We can do a little chorus. Oh, yeah. Chorus is funny. I honestly, when I was mainly a guitar player when I started playing music, and I had some really nice chorus pedals. Probably my best was the Diamond Halo chorus. Man, that thing was just dreamy. I wish I didn't sell it, but I wasn't using it. But point is, I as much as I really tried to invest in good choruses, I just never used it that much because I felt it was really cheesy on guitar. It just sounded like every other guitar player with chorus on it. And eventually I found my way to synthesis and realized by changing the beginning of the sound, not just having a guitar sound, even though there is some variance in there, but by changing the beginning to anything with synthesizers, I could make that chorus be my best friend. I shouldn't have sold that one, man. Okay, that's not bad. Yep, okay. So track 6. Okay, it's very similar. Obviously, it's the same sound. So we need to think of some ways to really change that up. Bringing the filter will be one. We do have 2 filters, so we can actually bring in this simpler bandpass style filter. Oh man, I don't have any filter or anything. I mean, reverb on that at all. Let's hear what that sounds like. Man, that is pretty nice. Wow. Little chorus. delay too. I haven't changed any of these settings. These are totally default settings for the effects, but that's okay. Oh man, that's nice. That's nice. Oops. It's gonna have to be in this region because it steps on the bass tones on a note lower or an octave lower, and it steps on this kind of sparkly thing going on. Avoidable sparkle. I have to mess with that a little bit more. Okay, what are we missing? If we're gonna make a little tune, which I probably won't have time for tonight, but can at least build the fundamental sounds here. Man, I have just been really happy with the results of multi-sampling this thing. So, all right, well, we got this sound. I'm a little sad to unpatch it, but, you know, we're all going to die. Nothing we do will last. Every trace of us in completion will be gone one day. So why worry about some sort of pretend legacy and just enjoy the moment? And that sound was fantastic, and I enjoyed it. And at least I have a sample of it. It'll never be perfect like that was, but that makes it even more beautiful. Okay, sorry. Don't mean to get all philosophical here, but let's move on to the next sound. Kind of try to zero everything out. Boom, 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 boom. We've got our release down to a little bit more. I try to get it right above that snap. Like, these are built so that they will snap when they start and they end, because that's what a envelope generator should do. If you have it start so fast in the beginning, goes up to immediate full volume, then you should get some response. I find it weird that people would prefer a synthesizer that doesn't have that, because maybe you want that transient, that attack sound in there for maybe something like we should do now, which is build a kick drum. Let's make a kick drum. Maybe we'll have time to make a super quick snare and a hi-hat. Get that in here. We're not going to multi-sample it, so that'll save us a little time. I haven't actually sampled. The multi-sample was the very first thing I actually sampled. I did drop some files over USB that I had recorded into my DAW, but yeah, so bear with me. We'll have to figure that one out together. Okay, what do we need to do to make a good kick? So, if you want a good solid electronic music style kick, a good way to start is the sine wave, which is, I believe, what you are going to find in those old-fashioned Roland drum machines, which, man, that TR-1000 is very tasty looking. I heard there's some growing pains with it, but this guy's got some growing pains. The MPC Live 3 probably has some too. I haven't been paying that much attention to it because I'm trying my best not to salivate over that thing. That sounds pretty cool, but I got MPC 2. I'm going to be happy with that for a while. But man, that TR-1000, buddy, that thing looks pretty cool, but $2,700. Okay, so we're going to bring this sine wave, because we have no pre-patched sine waves in here. We're going to go ahead and bring this into the filter. We're going to make sure that's all the way open. Resonance is all the way down. Let's hear it. You know what? I got to go back to the first patch. No, I don't want to go into load any effects. First patch. Let's try here. That's a good place to start. Okay. There's our kick. No, just kidding. That's horrible. Let's see. We want that to happen without. Why is it holding, I wonder? Yeah, I don't get. That's interesting. What am I not seeing about that? That should give me. Okay, well, let's just use the ADSR because I'm getting confused. Boop, not that. Boop. There we go. Okay, something to start with. Let's go. There's our little bit of sound. Now we need, well, let's maybe stretch that a little bit better. We need something to pitch that high and then low. Because if you think about it, when you hit a drum, the initial smack is going to give you a high-pitched sound, but then the vibration's going to start big and go down. As it slows down, it's going to get lower. The pitch is going to go down. This is all kind of me giving you a very, very simple, maybe even slightly wrong explanation how a kick drum works. But that's how I know you have to do it in terms of making it with an electronic synthesizer. So where is something I can use? Ooh, we might struggle with this. I didn't think about that because I need an LFO that kicks off right away. These are free running. No, single malt. Okay, no, this is what we want. But I don't have, I don't have a triangle. And I don't have, I just don't have a triangle. And I don't have a way to adjust, for example, this I'm sorry, I don't have a sawtooth is what I need. And I have a triangle, but I don't have a way to adjust the phase of that, do I? Darn. I bet you somebody smarter than me could probably figure it out, but at this point, we're a little limited. But I could do... How could I do that? I guess I'll have to use another sine wave. So here's my second sine wave. I need this pitch to come down like this. But so I want it low. We're getting the elements of a kick right there, but we need that fast. How am I going to do this? I mean, potentially I could bring in the ADSR. That's not doing much for me though. But what if I delayed the output of that? Slowed it down a little bit. Okay, let's try. This is part of the fun. So the output of the ADSR, it is giving me essentially a instant attack, which is what we want, and a relatively short decay time. But I don't know if it's so short that I'm not hearing anything when I put this in here. Oh, no, it was there. I was hitting the wrong one. Okay, we're not getting enough. It's not giving me that. Okay, I need to increase it. So I need to increase it for this, but not for this. So then how do I do that? Because I can slow it down here, but I can't speed it up. Dang. Okay. If this was coming in, this is going direct, but if I bypass that, I don't need it to go into the filter. Because currently I don't have anything going in there. So it's possible. Oops, wrong one. No, that's the right one. I want to maybe push this directly in to the VCA. No. Ring mod, sine wave. Oh. Yeah, there we go. I forgot about the pre-built patch. Okay. Wow, that's... Not getting much of that, though. That's very quiet. Is this just really low in volume? What was it in here? Oh, it's getting up there. It's just so low, I'm not really hearing it that well in these headphones. Whoops, wrong one. Here we go. Well, I'm certainly not doing this fast. That's not great. What was I using for Wait a minute. How was I getting this in there? Oh, because the envelope. Okay. Yeah, how am I doing? Because do I have the decay? Or the ADSR going into there? Oh, no. I lost track. Oh, wait. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we need some of that to ring out. So we're not getting what we need out of this guy. Sine wave. Okay, I'm not getting anything out of that guy now. Why am I not getting anything out of there? Boom, boom, boom. Jeez, I'm getting so lost here. Oh, I have it going through here. That's why. No, why am I not getting any sound out of this thing? I would suck at Eurorack. Okay, let's just... We're going to have to get a relatively simple kick. Add a little bit of noise. And we can bring that in here. Okay, I did something. If I take this out... Why? Oh, God, that's why. There we go. Okay, let's come back and get this guy going on. And it's getting more like a snare. Man, I did not think it was going to be this challenging. But it certainly is. I'm still not entirely sure. I guess, oh, I have the ADSR. Jeez, come on, Sean. You got this. That's interesting. The AR, that makes sense. You can see it up there. It has the sustain built in, so I can't use that. That's a bummer. Well, I guess in reality I could just have it shortly happening. Let's see what happens there. Nah. Well, okay. I'm going to try something else. I'm going to bring in another wave. I might patch it directly in. In fact, I'm going to try patching it directly in alongside of this guy. And it is off on its own for some reason. That's confusing. Why would this pulse wave coming into here? Oh, it's a control. Ah, sorry. Okay, I might have to do a mult. I believe if I have this set up correctly, it will go through. Let's try the saw out of this one. It's not generally what I usually do for a kick, but kind of feeling like I need to come up with something. So from my understanding, the voltage processor, the mult version of it, multiplier, is it kind of works of magic there by knowing it can basically sense. I'm sure this is not as it's not as mystical as I'm going to present it, but it basically can sense which direction the audio flow is going. So if I put in two inputs, or I should say outputs from sound sources such as these oscillators into here, and then this guy into an input, so the output of those into an input, it will know to merge these two and send them out of this one. Supposedly. Let's see if it happens. We're going to go here. And it works. But here is the kicker. What am I doing wrong now? Does that come into the malt? That's interesting. I don't know why the noise generator is coming through. Oh, that's why. There's always a reason. I swear, you just gotta, you just gotta figure it out. No, sorry. That goes over here. That's going in there. Okay, malt. Those are going through. Okay, so I'm not hearing any of these right now because that's not up. So that's very interesting because I feel like when I had that one directly going in, it was not doing it anymore. Oh, but why is this control? Jeez, man, I'm a mess. I'm sorry. There we go. Okay, back to the malt. Boom there. This guy into the ring mod, which I'm not using. Okay, so I'm gonna now bring this guy into here and see if I can reduce the chaos there, because that's way too much. What was it? Saw wave. Boom, boom, boom. This is coming out to, where is it? This guy here, right? Yeah. Now let's try pushing this into the malts. Yep, now we got a little mixer. Yeah. What I would need to do is get that to happen shorter. Maybe just a little bit. Okay, we're getting something. It's not great. I'm not super happy with this. Okay, let's get this filter properly going into this guy. That's not going to help me, is it? Because, nope, sure isn't. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to define it as well as we can in here, and then I'm going to toss it over to the tone verc to kind of make it sound a little better. It's tough because I want to keep a little bit of that decay, but I need that pitch to happen faster. Oh, man. Okay. Well, we tried our best. Yeah, that just needs to happen much faster. Or just less of it. Nah. Sounds kind of poppy in the low end, but man, so close. Ooh. Nope. Okay. Noise. Not getting any noise anymore because I don't have it in here. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's grab it. Yeah, it's not great. I'm sure it's possible, and I'm just coming up short here. But it's a bit difficult to get that going there. It's tough to think about. Okay, recorder. I have. Oh, it's just the regular old recorder. That's right. Okay. Why is it giving me? Oh. So F to arm. Go yes. It's definitely not taking that. Why is it not taking? Oh, because it's got to set the main. Okay. Let's go back. Where's my source? Boom, boom, boom. Track 1. No, we're going. Where's my. Here it is. N, A, N, B, N. They did that opposite. That's funny. Let's just see what we get. Oh, you don't even get to see what happens there. Huh. Okay. Well, we got 4 of them. That's good enough. Save it. We'll call this. Oh, I get to name this. That's kind of nice. Let's call this YT Kick 1. No, YT. I gotta think all this stuff, keeping it together, because I like to share it eventually here. YT. Let's go with an underscore. T Barp. Not my favorite name for it, but it is short. Kick. And hopefully I'll get better at making kicks with this, so I'm going to call this one Kick 1 for now. Sample track. No, let's not do that yet, because I need to figure out which one I'm going to use as my subtracks. So no. And I saved it. And boom. Okay, we're back. All right, let's see if we can make a quick snare and maybe a hi-hat. Let's see. First thing we'll do is go up a little bit on our octaves. Honestly, kicks and snares are cut from the same cloth. They're just basically higher pitch from each other, and obviously there's differences. But in the general concept, you're using a batter or a drumstick. A batter is in a kick batter to strike a drum head. So very similar. We definitely need lots of noise. Man, we need that pitch to be faster. So, okay, how do I do this? How can I use... Okay, I think I might have an idea. Output of the ADSR is going to go into... It's going to go into... Somehow we got to get this noise to happen. Slowly wink out. But I don't see anywhere I could attach the attack release VCA or envelope to any of that stuff to have a separate amount. So I need to I need to slow down the ADSR. Okay, but I can't put it into here. What do I do? Any suggestions? Hey, what are you doing? Sorry, I hope you guys weren't waiting long here. I'm trying to patch the 2600, Behringer 2600. Sorry if I missed these chats. Thanks for joining. Okay, so what I'm trying to do right now is get a snare. Trying to get a snare. And basically what I normally would do is I'd use 2 different envelope generators. I'd have one going towards like a sine or maybe a different wave, but essentially pitching that down really fast. You barely hear the high pitch, and it kind of gets down in that bottom area and kind of bottoms out right there. But then I'd have a slower envelope affecting the noise. But unfortunately, I'm stuck right now because I can't go and mess with the noise in terms of controls. I have 2 controls here, but there are no inputs for it. So what I need to do is basically have the level. I need this outputting, which is fine, but I need it to go somewhere where I can then slow down the ADSR and bring that to somehow control the noise generator. So what do I do? I could try this lag somehow. Would that somehow work? I'm not seeing how. Maybe I could use the envelope follower. I can't think of how, though. All right, well, just for fun, we're going to try this. Oops, I had that backwards. No, I did not. I need this to come from the leg out. We'll send this into directly, I suppose, but that's control. I can only send that guy. Oh, I'll just mix it. There we go. Let's see what this happens. It's not giving me the length that I want, so we didn't get that. But I think what I can do it's just going to be a snare with a lot of body. So let's go for it. I think, you know, it's not great, but it's going to work. I need to probably brighten it and add some distortion, and I can definitely add some noise that decays late on this guy. I'm not concerned about that. So we're going to go yes arm. 4 snares. We're going to save that. We are going to call this YT. What did I call the other one? YT ARP. No, BARP. YT BARP. If you guys are still around, feel free to suggest anything. I mean, I would like this to be collaborative if possible, but if you just want to hang out and listen and watch, that's cool too. BARP. Okay, what do I call YT BARP snare? I think I spelled it all the way out for the kick, so we'll do the same for the snare, and again, we'll get better at this snare 1. YT BARP snare 1. Nope. Okay. So I am going to go ahead and say, oh, we need a hi-hat. Oh, real quick. You know what? No, we need to make something else. Okay, one more sample. Let's go back to sampler. Oops, I was already there. I've already saved it, so let's go with FM discard. Let's get a snare. Okay, so I mean a hi-hat. Super high frequencies. But let's see. This is gonna be difficult. So I also don't. Okay, kind of there. Let's get rid of some of these. I want that to. Man, I wish I could do it, but I can't. Okay, we're getting close. We're getting close enough. I'm going to grab it wide open. Oh, I should have put some white noise on that snare. That was my problem. I had it down in the low frequency. I wasn't paying attention. Okay, we're just going to sample this because we can obviously change the, the amp stage and stuff later. So let's go with yes arm. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Tried 2 different pitches there. Okay, so yes, save. We're gonna go YT. Let's see how fast I can get this done. YT underscore. BARP. Boom. Oops. Going too fast. Underscore. And hi-hats. We'll just call it hats. And we'll go with a 1 again because hopefully I will be able to get better and make better sounding ones. Okay. Well, it was a pleasure. ARP, we don't need you now at this point, but you did a fantastic job. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go to track 5. That was not track 5, that was function 5. Let's go track 5. We're going to go a source. We're going to create subtracks. Do I have to select its own? Let's go all the way to the top. Create new. Okay. Oh, that's great. Okay, so now let's go find our samples. That is something I've not done. F and button goes the samples. Sweet user. And we'll go probably to recordings. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, the kick is going to be number 1. I wonder if I can load them all. Did it load? I see. Okay. Assuming that worked. Okay, seems to have. All right, well, that's not what we want. Cool. All right, let's go to the next subtrack. Source, gonna go boom, boom. Back to user, all the way down to recordings. We're gonna do the snare here. Okay, cool. Still not happy about those, but we are going to use them. Sometimes you just gotta make do. Okay, now we're on to track 3 for the kicks. Oops, I went to the wrong place. Boom, boom. There we go. User, recordings, pets. That might be the worst drum sets I've made, but we can fix this. I can fix it. I can fix them. Let's get the kick. All right, quick stuff, quick stuff. We are gonna boost the overdrive a little bit. It's very quiet. We're going to snap it up a bit by using one of these LFOs to go to the attack stage, go to the volume. Okay, crank it up a little bit, come over here and just turn it down a little bit. I want to snap that, I want to basically get a little bit more of that transient sound by using this little trick I like to use. I started doing it on the Rhythm, Electron's other drum machine, but basically I'm using an LFO. Where am I at? Amp, FX, nope, mod. And we're going to use this guy right here, the exponential. Let's see what else we got. We could use a saw, but I like the exponential. We're going to make sure it's on trig, because I want it to trig every time I hit this. And we're going to do the depth nice and high. And it should give us a little extra. Oop, we got to do the BPM at 16. Play with the speed a little bit. Not hearing what I expected to hear. Okay, maybe that's why I was too low. Okay, let's do 8. It's a little snappier. It didn't do as much as I had hoped, though. Maybe I need to mess with a little bit more. All right, we got overdrive pretty good. Let's see, I can do some effects here directly on the track, which is awesome. Love the tone brick for that. Did I not? Oh, effects here. Let's see if maybe we can add. Where's my degrader? There we go. A little more overdrive, a little bit rate. Okay. Whoa. I don't have pitch? Oh, it's right there. Yeah, you know, I'm gonna add one more effect. Let's see if I can do a little bit of compression. Maybe that'll help a little bit. No. Oh, there we go. Didn't have the mix. Cool, that's a little better. We can make that do. Make that work. Snare's gonna be a little bit more difficult, but we're gonna see what we got here. Let's first get rid of some of that low end. Not too much, but enough to give that bass kick separation. Okay, so let's come and bring the attack down a little bit. Why is my attack already so low? I guess I was messing with this already. Okay. Gonna have to bring in that degrader. I do love that effect. I feel like sometimes it's almost cheating. Oh, wait, that's right. Oh, I forgot. That's right. Should have known better. You do not get individual. This is a subtrack or a super track, however you want to look at it, but basically a super track containing 8 subtracks. That's what I turned this single track. I've said track like 4 times there. In the Tonewerk. I had a previous video. Please check that out for all the kind of nuance here. But essentially, you get 8 tracks for audio stuff. You can select any of those tracks, all of those tracks, to then contain 8 subtracks. So you could potentially have 64 sounds going. But you do get some limitations in those subtracks. One of those being that the effect slots are more like a send, or I shouldn't, they are insert, but they're an effect all. Every sound in that super track, which is the heading track of the subtracks, is basically all feeding into these effects at the same time. So we already have it set up. So it's okay. Part of the problem is I would like to have some decay on there. I'm sorry, some reverb. But I don't want to have it on the kick too, but I guess I'm going to have to figure something out in that realm. There is a way to, I could put a, that's what I'll do. I'll put an EQ on the I actually have individual tracks for the send effects, which is awesome. It's finally awesome that they brought that concept back. The analog rhythm and the analog 4 do have that capacity. None of the digis do, so that was a bummer when that was basically the reality. If you had a digi, you weren't getting that control. Let's see. Do I only get the one? Oh, no. Yes. Track no machines. Send effects track no machines loadable. So I guess I don't. I get one. Well, I guess I'd have to send it to a sub. Whatever. I'm not dealing with that right now. There's a way. There's always a way. Nope. I need track. What did I do? Track 5. Effects. Send. Let's bring that reverb down. Okay. All right, let's just fix this guy real quick. We're going to bring this all the way over here. Going to definitely pitch that up. Oh, man, I got to fix this. Let's just get rid of that reverb altogether. This is just too dark. How am I going to fix that? Overdrive. Let's try a little more decay. Oh, that's filter. Come back to this guy, maybe a little more off the low end. Man, I wish I could add a little sparkle to that somehow, but not do it to everything else. But let's see if maybe I could do a little high pass filter on here, and oops, there we go. Okay, not great, but whatever. We'll use it. Okay, let's do a simple 4 on the floor beat here. Boom, boom, boom. We got our 15913. I don't know where that's coming from. I guess, oh, I had a track in there already. But that's a new sound that we just sampled, I believe. Let's find out. It's weird how it won't actually tell me. Does it? Let's see if it gets at the bottom. Well, we can mess around here. So this is Splashy Centennial. Yeah, okay, so that's the new sound. Cool. Well, we can go with this. Let's go track 5. We should probably start just doing the kick, the drums on track 1, because that's what I always do, so that's kind of throwing me off a little bit. I'll just type it. somehow. Cool. All right, we'll take it. I'm gonna go back to the subtracks real quick and do a little spread on those drums. Not too much, just a little bit. Let's go to track 8. Bring down the filter a little bit more. Oh, maybe mess with that a little bit. Let's try. Let's try come up. I'm trying to darken this up a little bit. Multi-sample. It's been known to happen with the tone work, unfortunately. I should just come down a pitch on this. Just for fun right now, so. Too loud, but we also need to bring out some of the filter. That is going to be, let's go 96. Is that right? No, 64. Would have been 4, and then 2 more. Yeah, 96. Okay. Let's get a little pre-bar in there, pre-roll. Okay, make sure I remember what I was doing there. Cool. Okay. No effects yet either, so we've got lots of play, lots of room to play here. Sorry if I'm not paying attention to anybody. Nope, okay. You're just watching me, hopefully. We don't need to do that. Turn the metronome off. Out of there. Okay, now we got our other sound, which is on track 6, I think. Go with the whole 128, so we're going to get a little bit of a polyrhythm going on here to some degree. Also bring out some of that low pass, low filter frequency, low frequency material. Bring this pan over. Definitely throw. Oh, so we got some reverb on there, obviously. Should worry about. Cool. All right, super basic song. Super basic song. But sound-wise, I'm pretty like into these sounds. I think these are pretty worthy of some play. I don't know what's on track 1. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that. Is it playing this guy? Oh, I think it is. Is it? Yeah. There we go. Why not? Right? Okay, I need to figure this out real quick. How do I get to the mixer? Where's the mixer? I have not done this on this guy, so it's just something I haven't played with yet. I wonder. I mean, certainly I must have a mixer like I do. Well, maybe I don't yet. In fact, I'm starting to think that maybe that's the case here. Wow. Well, hey, some people hung out for the journey. That's awesome. Thank you for hanging out. It's 10:17. That's probably my longest stream so far. I do like streaming this long, so maybe I'll start doing that more. And also, I took a break in between to let this thing auto sample, and that was nice to get a little refresher. So maybe that's my new plan. Maybe I'll stay around longer, but take a break in between, just kind of, refresh. So, anyways, that was the the Behringer 2600. Honestly, this thing is pretty amazing. Again, I'm sure I don't need to go into it. Tons of people have. I'm sure there's a reason that these are this cheap. Could be quality, could be labor practices I wouldn't agree with necessarily. I don't know. But I will say this, for the amount of dollars I had to put down to get this is kind of mind-blowing. And for the sound quality, I mean, the physical quality feels really great too. I don't notice anything feeling really wiggly. Everything feels really good and solid. It's all metal. I mean, it's pretty nice. And the LEDs are a nice touch, all this light up, but man, the sound is really, really good. The filter is fantastic. You can get some ripping bass out of here. You can obviously auto sample and get some fantastic poly stuff, keyboards and pads. I mean, I'm really excited about this because I haven't done it with this guy, and this is my first time with the Toneverk, and I just know the possibilities are going to grow. The next time I do this, though, I probably will bring out the MPC Live, only because the MPC Live has some fantastic CV control. You can basically do everything from inside the MPC and directly plug into all of these inputs and send CV. And actually, it's kind of amazing. Oh, thank you, Mauricio. I appreciate that. I appreciate you joining. So I'm really excited about this thing, and I'm really excited about busting out the MPC Live. I mainly did it with the Toneverk because it just got fixed. Mostly fixed bug-wise with the MIDI jitter, and so I could actually auto-sample with it, which I was very excited to do. But yeah, man, this is really fun. And yeah, thanks for everybody for joining. And come see me next week. I haven't decided what I'm going to use yet. I usually wait to the weekend to decide. But it'll be something hopefully I haven't done yet, which is getting small, that list. Oh, actually, you know what I think I might do? I was thinking about maybe changing it up a little bit and doing let's make a beat. Let's make a beat and using I have several drum machines that I think would be really fun to build some beats on. So maybe I'll do something like that. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But anyway, I'm going to do this every Tuesday, 8 p.m. till however long that it goes. And I'd also like to start sharing these guys that I build, all these auto samples that I create, these multi samples. I'd like to share those with you guys. So I'm going to kind of work on that, how that's going to go. Probably direct links from my Google Drive for now. I'm not too concerned about that. I don't know if anybody else has any security concerns about that, but I think that would be fine. I just need to kind of get a workflow going. I got a lot on my plate. I work full time, family, all that kind of stuff. So this, unfortunately, is still the last thing I have time for, but I do try to make time for it. But I definitely stream on Tuesdays. I meant in general music. So please come join me, and also like and subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I try to put out some sort of song and performance every week. I try to, obviously, I'm going to do a stream every week, and I'm going to try to do some other stuff and just trying to build it. So I appreciate you guys hanging out, and I appreciate anybody who watches this later. So thank you. Have a good night.